then I got to the bottom of the mountain, and instead of stopping and resting, I said, I'm gonna make it to the top. Well, I'd been on Howard University track team, and I was in very good physical condition, but it was hot like this, and I didn't have any water, but I still made it to the top. And I might have passed out, I don't know. But when I opened my eyes and looked around, everything was different. And I said to myself, golly, everything I see has a purpose. The trees have a purpose. The cows have a purpose. The cornfield has a purpose. You know, whoever made all of this couldn't have made everything with a purpose except me. So there must be a purpose for me. And I said, and I don't care what it is. I'm just going to do from now on. I promise myself and my Heavenly Father that I'm going to do the best that I can one day at a time. And the next day, I'll do the best that I can then. Well, you know, the purpose that I said is something that I can do that nobody else can do. And if anybody else can do it, good, let them go. That ain't for me. And so, when Martin Luther King started, well, first, when I went down to Thomasville, Georgia, we were trying to get people to register to vote. And I said I'd be glad to run a voter registration drive. Well, I didn't know that could be trouble. This was in 1954. And so when we went out of town to the next town and came back on a back road, when we got to that back road, there was a whole lot of people with sheets on and pointed hats. And I said, oh, Lord. And I'd never seen that many Ku Klux Klansmen. And they have a reputation for killing black people and all kinds of things. But I wasn't afraid. And so I said, but if they come to mess with us, I told my wife, I want you to sit up in the window with the rifle. And I'll go down and talk to her. And I said, if you got the rifle on the person I'm talking to, then I can negotiate from a position of strength. Well, that was America's foreign policy at that time. And my wife was a little country girl who was a very good shot. She said, I'm sorry, I can't do that. I said, why not? You're a better shot than me. She said, yeah, but you're supposed to be a preacher. I said, what's that got to do with it? She said, if you forget that under that sheet is the heart of a child of God, you don't have any business preaching. I said, damn, Mama, what is the matter with you? And I said, do you realize we're in a shack? It really was. And I said, if they just throw a cigarette butt on the porch, it'll go up in smoke. And then me, and we had a 3-month-old baby, I said, all of us will be, that'll be it. And she said, so? I said, so? She said, don't you preach about the cross and the resurrection? I said, damn. What kind of woman did I marry? She believes all this stuff. And she said, if you don't believe it, you need to find something else to do. And what she made me do was to realize that I realized she was right and that there had to be another way. So I called one of my old members of the church, and he said, you need to call the mayor. The mayor ran the hardware store in Thomasville, Georgia. And so I called the mayor at the hardware store, and he said, let me call Sunnyland Packing Company and Flowers Bakery. They're the two biggest businesses in town. And both of them told him, we don't want any race problems down here. Said, let the Klan have their meeting on the courthouse square, but tell the sheriff, don't let them march in the black community. And tell the sheriff that he needs to have a car or two down at the church Sunday afternoon when they have their voter registration drive meeting. So it was, that's how I got into my work.
Thank you, Mr. Yan. So I have took one question. What has been your biggest pride during all your career?
My biggest what?
Pride. What have you accomplished?
And
you,
Well, I tell you what, I don't know whether you can get on the top of this building or not.
Mm-hmm.
But if you could, and you look north, when I came here, the tallest building was about 25 stories. And there were only 2 or 3 of them going down Peachtree. And I had been to, by the time I got to be mayor, we started building what is now the world's busiest airport. And I was at the groundbreaking of the first 10 buildings we have downtown. And now we got more than I can count. I don't even know the names of them. I used to know the architects, the contractors, and knew everything. Because there were only 500,000 people here, and now there's 7 million. And this school was a night school for people who wanted to get business degrees. And it had only about 400 students. I think the last time I heard it had 73,000. And this school graduates more black students every year than any other school in the world. The second is the University of Johannesburg in South Africa. Now they're usually about 1,250 plus or minus, a few, but it's usually 1,250 is a graduating class. Those are just the black students. And Johannesburg has about 900 and, just short of 1,000 students a year. And the reason that that's happened was that some of us decided that people like to gamble. And, my grandmama used to play the numbers. And if my grandmama did it, it had to be all right. So I voted to have the lottery here in Georgia, and got together with the other person who was running And we agreed that all of the money that came from the lottery would go into only education for college students and preschool. And we did it, the lottery passed. This school went from 400 to 500 to 60 to 70,000. I don't know where it is now. And it's not only that black students are getting educated. Most of the white students that are going to our community colleges would not have gone to college before. And so we raised the economic level of the state, and we raised the educational level of the state. And we have the world's busiest airport. That airport last year the airport alone probably did as well as almost every place in Africa except maybe Nigeria's oil, with Nigeria ahead of the airport. But it was $66 billion was the economic impact of that airport. And we built it with no government money. See, we went to Wall Street, and it's what I call public purpose capitalism. And we decided on the public purpose, which was to build an airport. And then we got all of the airlines that wanted to fly here, and we lined them up, and they all had to sign on the line. And the city signs at the bottom. And the city doesn't have to pay until everybody else goes bankrupt. And so we've never had to pay. Then we decided, a friend of mine decided we ought to have the Olympics here. And everybody said we couldn't do that, but we had the world's biggest Olympics. Our Olympics was bigger than China's. Our airport is bigger than the one in Shanghai. And the Olympics had more countries, it had more athletes. We sold more tickets than any Olympics in history. And we didn't pay. We didn't use any taxpayer money, no government money. We made it pay for itself. It's what I call public purpose capitalism. You define the public purpose, and then you figure out how to get private money to invest in it. Well, the private money doesn't mind investing in it because they don't make money on their investments. See? And so that's one of the ways we have worked in this city, and very few people understand it. In fact, other cities don't do this. Other cities go to the federal government and they'll look for a grant. See, and we have that Mercedes-Benz Dome, which holds about 80,000 people. No government money in that.
Wow.
See? And so it's almost everything you see around here is financed by private money. And that keeps the government from running everything. So that's what I'm most proud of.
Thank you, sir, for being here today. Swear to honor.
My question is, are there things that you would look back and you wish you had done them differently?
You know, I don't believe it. I don't have many regrets. Maybe I wish I had studied more in college. But I really don't. I had a ball. And if you forgive my common language, I think one of the things that has made me successful is I was a C student, but I got a PhD in what I call nigology. That anywhere in the world I go, there are, well, they're not all black. It's not a matter of color. It's a matter of, it's a poor people's culture. And you have to learn to appreciate poor people and realize that their value is the same, if not higher, than rich people. Because rich people tend to be protected and sheltered, and they don't have as hard a life as poor people do. And that's why poor people are stronger and grow taller and are smarter. I mean, if you grow up lifting 50 pounds, you're okay. See? But if you grow up lifting 100 pounds, you're twice as strong. And if you grow up having to bear a burden of 200 pounds, you know, then you're gonna really be tough. And so, understanding how life works.
Muhammad.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. My name is Muhammad from Nigeria. In your film about Nigeria, and also most of what you said about how we are more antagonists today, but problems is everywhere. So it's like almost saying people should not complain about problems because problems is everywhere. So as young people, I know there are some of the things that differ us in today's problem with the problems that existed maybe in the times you were a young person like us. So what is the best approach? And I'm sure some of the civil rights movement also perhaps started as a kind of antagonism, like complaints about people. Because sometimes it's the complaints that inspires people to start driving a movement. So if we don't complain, what should we do? So,
Work. No, seriously. Nobody gives a damn about your complaints. I mean, my wife, I complain, and she says, "What is the matter with you?" I said, "But so and so and so." And she said, "So, do something about it." But I do the same to her. I say, she's got some complaint about her friends or children or grandchildren. And sit down and figure it out. And if you can't figure it out, get down on your knees and pray for her. Okay? There's more answers coming to you from prayer than from any book you read. Including the Bible. Because you got to understand, understand a lot about the Bible before it makes much sense. No, there's a little book that's written, well, it's what Gandhi talked about. It's what Mandela talked about. It's what Martin Luther King talked about. Tolstoy. in Russia wrote a little book called The Kingdom of Heaven. The Kingdom of God is Within. And it's interesting, I just found out that Tolstoy's grandson is a friend of Putin. And I wonder how that works. You know, in Russia. But, I mean, Russia right now is messed up. And it's usually more than just one man. But they've lost the democracy. I mean, the thing about democracy is that the thinking of 1 million people is probably more accurate than the thinking of 10 people. And it's not as easy to come to a conclusion with 1 million people as it is with 10 people. But you're probably better off if you take the time to build a coalition of like-minded people.
Thank you so much for your time, Ambassador. I wanted to find out, and my question is similar to Hayek's question, but I guess a bit more broader. I wanted to find out if there was anything that you know now that you wish you knew when you were younger.
Everything. No. I think I've always been a person of faith. I never gave up on anybody. You see, because I lived in the kind of neighborhood I lived in, my daddy was a wise man, but he was a little man. He wasn't big. He was 5 feet 4 inches tall. And he'd say, you're probably not going to be big enough to beat up everybody, anybody. He said, but you need to learn how to fight. So that, you know, if you know how to fight and you get in a fight, you don't have to fight but once. As long as you let the other person know that they're in a fight, then they ain't gonna mess with you anymore. And so that was true in my neighborhood. So I learned to get along with people who were different. And I learned to listen to them, and even though they were saying things that I didn't agree with and I didn't understand, I kind of tried to figure out where are they really coming from. You know, what is their real problem? They want to make it me? No, it's not me, because I ain't around. You had this problem before I got here. So learning to analyze your surroundings. That's what an education is. An education gives you tools for thought, and thought is really analysis. Now, you might be wrong, but analysis is, and then you learn statistics. And you say, well, it may not be true, but Dr. King used to say, Martin Luther King, who led our civil rights movement, used to say, it's lies, damn lies, and statistics. And truth is different than a statistical analysis of your present reality. Now, it may give you an insight into the truth, your present reality. See, but right now, everybody wants the world to be perfect. And I want me to be perfect. But I got sense enough to know I'm not going to ever be perfect. I get on my own nerves. And I get sick and tired of myself. So I know there's gonna be times when other people get sick and tired of it. But, that's enough.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yan. You're such an inspiration, really. Besides, apart from all the accolades and everything that you've achieved, my question is more focused on the core of your being, if I may put it. And I just, for me personally, to sort of source that inspiration, what would you say fuels your engine? Or what has fueled your engine in the past 90 years of your existence?
Well, it's the fact that when my grandmother was blind, and she lost her sight when she was about 80, and I was about 8. She lived 6 more years. And she was a hard-working woman who never had much money. She was poor, but she had 5 children of her own. But she raised 11, and I don't understand why, but she took in children who didn't have anybody to take care of them, and just raised the whole, all of them are my aunts, even though I knew they were not my grandmama's children. And she made me, when she lost her sight, she used to make me read the Bible to her every day, and the newspaper. And she would tell me, from her 80 years of wisdom, what both of them meant. And I think that's where I got as good an education as I got in school. Because it gave me a spiritual perspective on the world around us. She had never had any money, but she used to, I grew up in the Depression, and there used to be people that would be hitchhiking and riding on the railroads, trying to go places where they look for jobs, and there was, they didn't have anything to eat. So I was sitting out on the porch one day, and I was just about 9 or 10, and this old raggedy white man who we used to call them hobos. He said, I was told that there's a nice colored woman over here that would give anybody something to eat if they were hungry. You know who she is? I said, sound like they're talking about my grandma. And I went back and I told my grandmother that there was a man out there that was hungry. And in Louisiana, we make these big loaves of bread called po' boy. And she cut a po' boy in half, and what we had for dinner that day was red beans and rice. And she poured the red beans down in that po' boy. See, and wrapped it in paper and brought it out to him. And but whatever we had, she would find a way to share with anybody who was hungry. And that's how she got, you know, there was also, we had a virus outbreak, and I think it was about somewhere between, well, I think 3 of her children died of influenza, flu. And there was an epidemic somewhere around that. So she just always looked out for everybody. But she expected us to look out for everybody too. And expected us to look out for her. Except that she did another thing that now I'm very comfortable with. She used to fuss with God. And she used to say, look, I done lived on this earth 86 years, 85 years. And she'd say all the things she had done, all of the troubles she'd had. And she would pray to die. She said, why are you leaving me here? I'm ready to come on, go home to glory. I've done my work here. Well, what she didn't realize was her work now was giving me some sense. So having to read the Bible to her and listen to her pray for death, that means that I wasn't afraid of death. And so that's one of the reasons I got along with Martin Luther King, because he wasn't afraid of death. And he used to say that death is the ultimate democracy. Everybody's got to die. And you don't have anything to say about where you die or how you die. The only choice you have is, what is it you're willing to give your life for? See? And he said, but you're gonna die. And the way he would get us used to, the fact that we were doing dangerous stuff was, he'd say, if you're gonna, if they get you, he said, I know there's a bullet with my name on it. And he was in his 30s. And he said, but you all are always, whenever they have a camera, television camera pointed on me, all of you all are trying to jump in front of me to get your picture in the television. He said, so I figured that one of these days, if somebody's after me, one of you all will jump in the front of me and take the bullet. And he said, but then I really have troubles. And that is, how am I going to preach your sorry ass into heaven? And he'd preach about you and say all the embarrassing things that you would never want anybody to say in church. But he would make your funeral like a comedy routine. But what he was doing was making us laugh at death. And that was the way we overcame our fears. Because people were dying all the time. And he's right, that everybody's got to die. And your choices of what is it you're willing to give your life for?
Okay, well, unfortunately, we're at the end of our hour. I know that there's a lot more questions, but let's give Ambassador Young for your time. And we will be now getting together to pose for pictures, and you may get an opportunity to ask them something while you're next to it. But I did want to point out Tillman Hall in the room, in case of an Ambassador Young. Tillman Hall is today's film producer, who has worked with our former Mandela Washington Fellows. As a matter of fact, he has 2 films that he's done. One documentary with the Mandela Fellow from 2019 on female genital mutilation in Kenya. And we will be doing a film screening of that on Saturday. And he's also gone to Sierra Leone with one of our fellows, I think he was from 2018.
2018, yeah.
On mental illness in Sierra Leone. So thank you for coming by. Were you going to say something? Oh, okay. But again, thank you so much for all that you have imparted to us today. We want, maybe you can come to the center a bit more and you all can gather around. So come on, and then we'll take that. And you all can just gather around. Maybe if you could drive here, drive to thank you.
Right. And then I'm going backwards. I'm coming back. Okay, come on.
Guys, let's.
Get back a little bit.
Yeah.
Come on back. And make sure you can see the camera. That's good.
Sharon, were you gonna get in the shot?
Yeah, I'm gonna get in. I'll do a picture with this one. Yep.
If you guys can't see the camera,
Let
camera
me
can't see
ask,
you.
do you all talk with each other a lot?
No, we
No,
not each other.
Okay, because
Look at the camera.
I find the best way for me to learn history of another country is to talk to somebody from that country. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to believe everything they say.
Before they get the.
Complains about
Oh, is it
wherever they were
recorded?
born.
I'm just trying to get a picture.
The fact that the country doesn't with itself.
Yeah, because of, maybe there's a purpose of me serving there because I was born there. If I had a choice, I would have chosen to be born elsewhere, but
Where would you chosen to be born?
when I've been here, maybe
All
I'll
right.
stick with my own country.
I was born in Swaziland.
And what do they call it now? I hadn't heard that.
Eswatini now.
Huh?
Eswatini, the kingdom. Yeah, the kingdom of Eswatini.
That's what?
Eswatini.
Eswatini.
Yeah.
Recording.
Eswatini.
I had the same.
I'm here for
I was like, if I was given an option.
No one is
But now it's a case of home is where the heart is.
I'm proud of my country.
Okay.
Oh, he is indeed.
We can tell.
I am not.
I'm proud of my country.
You know, the person that, well, I met two people that I was supposed to hate. And I really ended up really liking them.
I can guess one.
Whoa.
Robert Mugabe.
One thing, he was smart and very, very smart. The other one was P.W. Botha. Of South Africa. I went to see him, and he was nasty. I mean, he was really rude. He didn't want to speak. I mean, he didn't want to see any Americans. And I said, he didn't want to see anybody. And I said, well, President Carter asked me to bring you a message. And he said, who are you?
Okay, now I'm just going to ask.
Yeah.
Move over, guys. And we exchange.
And I said, he wanted me to give you a message. And that is that, and before I could say what President's message was, he said, why did white people vote for you?
Where's the best one?
He had seen a film on it.
You'll
When I ran
so that
for
we can
Congress,
choose. We'll select.
There.
it was only 38% black.
So I've got a few. Yeah.
And that bothered
You
me.
have the WhatsApp now?
Why did you
What's that?
win when it's mostly white people? And I-
Okay. I don't
I
do
should've
WhatsApp
said
though.
that I was smarter than the white
No,
man.
but I'll get it to you. I've been
But I
using
didn't
your
say that. I said, I don't know. I said, we'd work
one of your
together on lots
emails.
of
I can
problems.
email it to you.
And, you know, and they just decided that we gotta learn to live together sometime, so,
What have you learned? In terms of the good words that were found, make sure that is done for sustainability. Is there a way for our organization?
I don't know. I don't. I think, and it's not fair, don't trust me, I may be wrong on this, but I think that movements are more effective than organizations. See, like, I think we had a movement. Now, that meant we didn't have any money. We didn't have any organization, but we had the people. And there were other people who had organizations, but they were not nearly as effective as we were, and they had money, and they had everything you're supposed to need to be a success. And yet they weren't. Whereas we were hungry and anxious and determined to make things better.
How do you see Africa in 5 years?
A what?
How do you see Africa?
In 5 years? Well, one of the things I worry about is one possibility is that the world with global warming is such that I can see a massive famine in Africa. I mean, I can see millions of people dying. I mean, it's just because we have screwed up the earth and it's too hot. Now, the good news is there's a bill before the Congress now that's going to try to do some things about, and like, I haven't had any money. That's the one thing about doing what I've been doing. There are no big salaries, but I saved enough money and I got some money, and I'm putting solar panels up on my house, so I won't use so much electricity. I mean, gasoline is so expensive that I'm looking at an electric car. And we're going to work on some things.
What do you do? Sorry, before you guys ask questions, can we just give this to you?
Sure.
From Zimbabwe.
All right.
It's the many billion-dollar note, 500 billion, actually 5 billion. And a fridge magnet, so we made it into a bookmark. Well, I made it into a bookmark.
This is the Mac.
Assault me.
What? Okay. Let me, let me put this in here.
What's this?
Let me, oh, isn't that sweet? I like, you know what I like about
Teray, you gave them the.
A lot of there's the little ones. Lychee nuts. I like those.
No, don't block here. We want to take pictures.
Oh, you have it? You have the 10? No! So you have the 20? Beautiful. So now you have the 5 and the 20.
$20 billion.
This is.
Yes.
Let me pray for you, Dan.
Naira was stronger than the dollar. Yeah, and so the Naira I had, I spent, this was not worth it. I can't do
Amen. Amen. I feel so bad. I have a part from my dance.
I was going to do the one that says that to come and put us opposing motion.
Wait. 1 second. Sorry. Okay. Lina. Yeah. Thank you, Sylvie.
For women's oh, no, yeah, that's what it was. So, no, that would be perfect time because I built in time. So they can calculate. So we start here at 9. So by 10, 15, 10:30, at least 10:30, I think. We get there to about 10:30, then you can leave. We're just going to do that at 11. Yeah. Just across the where we were. Creative media thing. It's right, it's next, that was 25 Park Place. I think the next building is like 35.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's just like.
No, I did not. Oh, he was killed. I know,
We may have to send out an announcement.
I knew Mobutu when he was in his glory, when the rumble in the jungle, when Muhammad Ali was there, I was there.
Wow.
I learned from that Nigeria was pretty good. I tell you, I wish I could get, how long are you all gonna be here?
Till next week.
August 6th.
10 days.
Okay, if I can find some copies, I'll bring them back by here and
Okay.
you can at least see it.
Yeah, we should.
But let me just say that whenever I meet a group like this, I realize that I'm looking at the future,
Yes.
not of Africa, but the planet.
Wow. The planet.
And when I mean, one of the reasons I like sports is, well, when they have 1,500 meters, I know who's going to be in it. The Kenyans,
Yes.
and
Kenyans.
Nigeria.
Uganda and
Not the
Ethiopians.
Nigerians will be in the sprints.
Ethiopia.
And Ethiopia,
Yeah.
Uganda.
and Kenya, Uganda. But every now and then, like there's a Norwegian that's running hurdles.
Yeah.
See? And the thing about sport is that it's a way of acting out, you know, what's really happening in our lives. But I wish I could just, I mean, everybody's taking pictures of me. But I'm sitting here looking how beautiful you all are.
Yeah, and I noticed you.
I have a question, and I'm not concerned. Yeah, I just wanted you to amplify for me. I stumbled upon a quote that you said, maybe it's just an assertion, maybe it's true, that, and I quote, the safest place to put your money is at the middle of the U.S.
Yep.
What does that mean?
That means that right now, we're one of the few countries that has a stable economy. And if you put it, you're from where?
Zambia.
If you put it in Zambia, Zambia used to be pretty crooked. That you have to pay somebody under the table, that you invest in land, and then they say they can't find the deeds, and you lose your investment. And I was talking about, I was talking about the Dutch. The Dutch were the first people to loan the United States money. They were when we were trying to fight for independence. John Adams and Thomas Jefferson went to Holland and got money to fight against independence.
Actually, she's Nigerian. Yeah. Does anybody know?
She's got the ingredients in it.
Thank you for watching.
Yeah, and then I only have onion. What do you?